Welcome to another episode of Crimes Notes. At this point, you should have already completed one-step and two-step equations, and so now we're going to talk about solving multi-step equations. As usual, you have your three do-now problems at the top. You have a review over distributing and combining like terms, a review over translating a word sentence into an equation or an expression, and then this is a two-step equation that you should already know how to solve. As a review, we have what is the goal for solving equations. This still hasn't changed. Our goal to solve an equation is to isolate the variable. That means get the variable by itself. And then again, how do we solve equations? We're still going to use inverse operations. So we're always going to do the opposite of what we see. And that's how we move stuff from side to side. So then here we've got the 5 steps, okay, and I'm going to kind of slide it up so you can see them. Okay, our first step is always going to be to draw the line through the equal sign. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Draw the line through the equal sign. Okay, then the second step now is going to be to distribute to remove parentheses. And this hasn't changed. We've talked about distribution for a long time. Remember, distribute is fancy for multiply. Once we distribute, just like we used to do back in Unit 1, we're going to combine the like terms. Then we're going to use addition or subtraction to get the variable isolated on the left, or on one side. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the left. And then we're going to use multiplication, or division to solve or to finish the problem. Okay, so let me fold this so that you guys can see it, but you should still have your steps available to you. So here's our step 1. We draw the line on the equal sign. Step 2 is to distribute to remove parentheses, but I don't have any parentheses, therefore I can't distribute. So then our next step is to combine like terms on each side separately. So on this side I have a y and a plus 4y, and then I have the minus 7 that would be by itself. Well, 1y plus 4y makes 5y. Then I have the minus 7, so I would just put minus 7 equals, and now I bring it down. Now it should look exactly like our original two-step equation. We have 5 times y minus 7. This is what we want to move first. So if this is a minus 7, the inverse operation is plus 7. And remember, that's what step 5 said to do, or 4, sorry, was to use addition or subtraction. In this case, we're going to use addition. So then negative 7 plus 7 makes 0, so that goes away, and I bring this down. So I have 5y equals 13 plus 7, if we were to put it in the calculator, would give you 20. And then I would divide by 5 on both sides, because side by side means multiplied, so the opposite is to divide, and we divide by whatever number is in front of the variable. We do not change the sign when we divide. So do not change sign when you divide. Or multiply, for that matter. So divide or multiply. Because we're not really supposed to be changing signs, we're doing the opposite operation. So then y equals 4. Good. Okay, so then let's look at number 2. I'm going to start it, and then I'm going to have you finish it. Step 1, draw the line on the equal sign. Step 2, distribute to remove parentheses. So 3 times a is 3a. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15, and then that equals negative 21. So again, from here, it's a normal two-step problem, so then you guys can complete that one on your own. So let's look at number 3. Draw the line. Then we do have parentheses, so we need to distribute. But remember, this is just going to come down. I'm distributing a negative 3. And be super-de-duper careful. Let me get another color. A lot of us are still struggling when this is negative and this is negative. We're forgetting to multiply it that way. So if I do negative 3 times 2, I get minus 6r. And then I do negative 3 times negative 1. Negative times a negative makes a positive 3. And then the other side didn't change, so I write it down. So now I'm ready for combining like terms. So I have the negative 9 that's going to go with the positive 3. And then I don't have another r. So just out of habit, I'm going to write the variable first. So minus 6r. Then if I do negative 9 plus 3, I get minus 6. So then our next step is to use addition or subtraction to isolate the variable. So here's the variable. This needs to move. It's a minus 6, so I'm going to add 6 to both sides. Negative 6 plus 6 cancels out or makes 0. I'm going to bring down the negative 6r. Do not lose your sign. Then negative 18 plus 6, if you were to put it in your calculator, would give you negative 12. And then side by side means multiplied. Just because this is minus doesn't make this subtraction. I'm not subtracting from anything. There's not a sign. So this is negative 6 times r, so the opposite is to divide by negative 6. So then I would get r equals 2. Good. All right, number 4, I'm going to kind of get it set up for you and combine like terms, and then you're going to solve. So let's look at number 4. Again, a lot of the times they give you parentheses with nothing out front. This is an imaginary 1. Then the x has an imaginary 1 in front of it. Then this is a minus, and there's a 1. And then another imaginary 1 in front of the x. So I'm going to draw the line. And then I'm going to do step 2, which is distribute to remove parentheses. So 1 times 1 is 1, so I have 1x. 1 times, and there's that negative again. Do not lose these signs. In fact, I'm going to highlight them again. So 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Now I'm going to distribute this negative 1. So negative 1 times 1 is negative 1x. And then this is negative 1 times negative 5. Negative and a negative makes a positive, and then 5. And then this isn't a part of it, the distribution, so I'm just going to bring it down, plus 2x. So now we're ready to combine like terms. So I have 1x minus 1x plus 2x, and again, remember, when we're putting them together, we include signs. So 1 minus 1 makes 0. 0 plus 2 makes 2. So I have 2x. Then I have negative 3 plus 5, which would make plus 2. And that equals 0. And that would just be your normal two-step equation, so I'm going to let you finish it from there. All right, so then let's look at number 5. You know what? Over here, I'm going to put watch for negative signs. because that's the one thing we have a tendency to forget. All right, number 5, we're going to start by drawing the line. Then we're going to do step 2, which is to distribute. So 5 times g is 5g. 5 times -7 is -35. Now I've got this positive 2, and I have to distribute it 3 places. So here, here, and here. So 2, and then this is that imaginary 1 times 1, so plus 2g. Then 2 times, and again, I should have highlighted these, so there's a negative, there's a negative. So 2 times -3 is -6g. And then positive 2 times positive 15 makes positive 30. So I'm going to highlight, but now I want you guys to actually combine your like terms. So I have the 5g that would go with the positive 2g and the -6g. And then I have a -35 that should go with a positive 30. So I want to see if you guys can finish that one out and solve. All right, last one, number 6. I'm going to draw the line. But then we notice that we have fractions, okay? Fractions are not exactly our favorite. So if you want to get rid of all fractions and they have a common denominator, so they both have this denominator of a 2, you can actually multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. So if I multiply this times 2, this times 2, this times 2, and this times 2. So I think all of you would be okay that 8 times 2 is 16. But I want to show you what this next part looks like. This is a -1/2. I'm going to, again, highlight all these minus signs because that's what we have a tendency to forget. So I'm going to put in control divide. Okay, I've got a -1/2. And then times 2. And it comes out to be -1. So I would put -1p. Then this is -3/2 times 2. So same thing, negative, control divide, 3/2, and then times 2, and it gives me -3p. So now I've gotten rid of all the fractions. And then on this side, -10 times 2 would give me -20. So now you're ready to follow the rest of your steps. Again, I'll highlight, but I want you to finish the problem. So here is -1p minus 3p, and then this is your 16. Okay, so combine your like terms and then use addition and subtraction and then division and multiplication and see if you can finish those problems. Okay? Good luck. Let me know if you need any help.